very Eurocentric, white male Eurocentric. But if you start studying and looking at outside of Europe and outside the American science experience, is what was going on in Africa and the Arabic world, in Persia and so forth. When the Europeans were bathing in mud, the Persians had a whole different thing going on, and they were doing the math, and they were doing, and I don't even know all of the different stories to tell, but I try and tell the stories that I know, and I've gone looking outside of Newton and what he did. You know, bless him, that's what we're studying right now, but those, what did their culture offer the world? So in mine, I really work to get respect, and I think that I pretty well succeed in that. Not all of my students pass my class, different reasons, and I have gone to them, what can I do different for you? What can I help you with? What did I need to do? So next year I can, and they'll look at me, Miss, it wasn't you. It wasn't you, I didn't do my work. And so I look at, when I started looking at that's somebody's child, and that can be the kid I have to send out for a timeout every day or refer more than I care to, but that's somebody's kid. And as one of our staff members says, they're not holding back their best kids. They are sending us the best they've got. But my kids know that they're respected in my room, and I hear that from each one of the educators that are sitting here with me. One of the things that I do to accept and take them where they're at is in my strategies, and I didn't even know it had a name because it's what my father did to us. It's called Socratic questioning. That I don't give away answers. You come to me with a question, Miss, how do I do this? They forget I have a second name. And I give a question back. I need to know where they're at, what they understand, what level they're at, and then I can work them through questions. And so when language is a barrier, or when I can see the kid mathematically can do the process, do the work, but I need to work because, not so much this year, but in years past I've had the kids do a lot more oral presentations and explain how they know what they know, how do you get what you got, and using that Socratic questioning. And then when they didn't have the language to explain it there, I backed down. And I would start where I knew I could get them to be able to explain how they got, where did you get that number, and they would point to a data table. And then would point to a graph, or a point on the graph, and what the variables were. But using that Socratic questioning to get them what they can explain, and then maybe I would have to give away a vocabulary word. I hate that, but I will do it now. Again, because I have kids, 3 years ago I did not have a classroom loaded with kids at the basic level. When this ELD model came on, things shifted, and I've got kids at a basic level that are just approaching just passing the silent phase. There we go. But getting the respect and that they know you respect where they're at, and you don't allow anything in the classroom that puts down. There are certain words, and unfortunately, I accidentally learned a Farsi word that I didn't realize what it was until somebody explained it to me. Yeah, that was embarrassing. But that I don't let them use the words, derogatory words to each other. And oh, miss, it's the culture. I don't care. That is not complimentary. It's not respectful. It's not used in my room.
One of the things at the high school level, too, is a problem with, in today's climate, especially in this state, with the undocumented students, you know, what's the motivation for them to excel when they know that after high school they can't go any farther? And so you have to make those kids feel they can go, 'cause like I said, at this stage, you can't go, you need all the documentation to go to the universities or the community college, or you're paying out-of-state tuition. So they get kind of frustrated and think, what future do they have? Because, you know, if they have a burnt out tail like Joe Arpaio was in and deport them. So you need to make them feel, why should they be doing this? How does it benefit them? So we try to point out cases. In fact, there's a student who's at ASU now who graduated, I believe, number 3 at Alhambra High School, and she wasn't documented, but yet this girl wants to be a doctor and she will get there. So you let the kids know that where there's a will, there's a way, and there's things out there that can help them. But there's going to be a whole bunch of kids who don't feel safe. Carl Hayden is a perfect example of the robotics team that they have there. And these high school kids were beating MIT. And most of those kids on that robotics team were not documented. So when they did the competition, I think the next year they did it in Canada, so MIT made sure that those kids couldn't go across the border to Canada to beat them again. So, but we have some really bright kids, and if we can just show them that there's a way they can get somewhere, that helps motivate them too.
This year I found that my challenge in 3rd grade is that I've entered an assessment, crucial assessment year. Students are taking the Ames for the first time. Zella changes from when they took it in 1st grade and 2nd grade, and so really learning and understanding exactly where my students are every day is one of the struggles that I have. And you're not going to have a lot of assessments that are created for you because your students change all the time. They change every day, their mood changes. You have to know where they are, and you have to gear your instruction to their needs, because as the ELD teacher or the ILLP teacher, you have to have documentation that your students are learning. And so we just got through taking our Ames test last week, and it's not a very difficult test. It's at the knowledge level. So a lot of good teachers go, they instruct at a more rigorous level. We don't just teach basic knowledge of material. So the boys and girls were so excited, and they came out and they said, I think I did really good. It was an easy test. But just knowing how to assess them, just knowing where they are, knowing what they need next. Assessment is very important, and if you start learning how to read assessment or create assessment so that you know what it's for, what you're going to use it for, and learning how to read data. Data is very critical. We have data meetings, and we look at students, we look at where they're going, the right placement for students. We want to make sure that students are making their one-year growth. And with the model that we use at Aguilar, I got a student who was reclassified in 2nd grade but took the Zella this year and fell back to basic. So if we did not have information like that, we would have just mainstreamed her next year, and she would have just, drowned, literally. She wouldn't be able to do 4th grade curriculum. So just knowing how to read data, knowing how to use your assessments to guide your instruction, that I could say this year I'm going to take and I'm going to improve next year. In addition, you're teaching 4 hours worth of English, and you need to also teach science and social studies, learning how to integrate those content areas into your reading and into your writing, and you need to be really creative on how you do that. And in Tempe, I'd like to say we have the best resources. We have language arts coaches, we have English ELL coaches. Lisa's great, Anne's great. We have just a plethora of resources that I can use. Make sure that when you become an educator, you take advantage of those resources. Otherwise, other school districts, they've gotten rid of them because their teachers don't use them. Chandler School District has no language arts coaches, but Tempe is one of the school districts who continues to keep those language arts coaches because they're so valuable. And just know how to collaborate well with your, find somebody who you can collaborate with. That saves you a whole lot of time because you share information, you share lessons. It's not a difficult thing to do, but it's really, I mean, your time is valuable as a teacher. You really don't have a whole lot of time outside of school to be doing that stuff, so just buddy up with somebody and, follow them and get information from them. It's so useful.